My name is Christian, and I'm a member of various collectives and organizations, including Nikkei Decolonization Tour. I want to thank everyone for coming today. I'll be opening and closing our commemoration of the 101st anniversary of the Kanto Massacre, as well as transitioning our different speakers. To start, I will briefly share what is NDT and how the initiative to hold a commemoration for the Kantō Massacre in San Francisco was born. In 2023, a group of diverse diaspora with roots in what we know as the modern nation-state of Japan joined Nikkei Decolonization Tour to deconstruct the dominant notion of Japan as a homogeneous nation-state and make visible the violent suppression and denial of diversity in Japan. Through our effort, we wish to make solidarity possible with all peoples in Japan who are fighting for their own liberation and to overcome the harmful effects of Japanese colonization, Western imperialism, and other systems of oppression. As NDT 2023, we, alongside the delegation from the San Francisco Comfort Women Justice Coalition, attended the Great Kanto Earthquake Korean and Chinese Massacre 100 Years Memorial Ceremony events from Yokohama and Arakawa Riverside to the Bunkyoku Civic Center in central Tokyo, attended by 1,000 participants. Upon invitation by the National Committee for the Centennial Commemoration of the Great Kanto Earthquake and Korean and Chinese Massacre, we shared the stage with the massacre victims' families hailing from China and Korea to relay messages of solidarity from the unceded territory of the Chochenyo and Ramaytush Ohlone people known as San Francisco and Oakland, California, Toronto, and beyond. The Kantō Massacre was committed in the Kanto region of Japan in the aftermath of the 1923 Great Kanto Earthquake. An estimated 6,000 people were murdered, mainly ethnic Koreans, but also more than 800 Chinese people and Japanese people mistaken to be Korean, as well as a handful of Japanese communists, socialists, and anarchists, all seen as suspect through the lens of the fascist state. This was the beginning of the massification of police in Japan, where ordinary Japanese people accepted the racialized logic of the Japanese Empire, saw themselves as superior to colonized peoples, and committed genocide in the name of the Emperor of Japan. As Nikkei, this is a horrific legacy that we inherit, as full justice continues to remain a debt owed to the victims' families. However, as people committed to truth and justice, it is one that we can all help make right. Since returning from our tour in September of late last year, we have given 2 report backs, taught a workshop at SF State, participated in the International Day for the Right to the Truth concerning gross human rights violations and for the dignity of victims, delivered a statement in Japan, shared knowledge through live streams, launched a website, and translated into English testimonies by people who suffered and or witnessed the Kantō Massacre. Yet there is more to be done. The struggle for justice in Japan has been valiantly led by the families of the victims for decades, and we accompany them today with our commemoration of the 101st anniversary of the Kantō Massacre. We are here in Japantown to educate our Japanese American community and apply pressure on the Japanese government. May we honor the people whose lives were taken away, learn the lessons of the massacre and its subsequent denial by the factors that behold, and be renewed in our commitment to fight against fascism in all its forms. Before we read our statement on Japan's denial of the Great Kanto Earthquake, Korean and Chinese Massacre of 1923, we would like to take a moment to acknowledge the land that we are on. NDT 2023 member Momi will now lead us in a land acknowledgement.
Hi everybody, welcome to the commemoration of the 101st Kantō Massacre commemoration. I'm with Poor Magazine Hopefulness, and I acknowledge that we are on land that has been stolen. Thousands of years ago, there were people that had lived here and thrived here and protected the land. And over centuries, those people have been massacred through genocide, through poor policies of capitalism and continued imperialism. So here in the U.S. today, we're on a lonely land, and it is an acknowledgement that everyone here is connected to this land and to the history, just like the Kanto Massacre, where thousands were killed and the Japanese government committed atrocious atrocities of genocide that continues today throughout the globe, through Israel, on Gaza and the Palestinian people, throughout Asia and the Pacific Islands. So we're here today to also commemorate and to bring that connection, because we are all connected by the devastation of imperialism, both Japanese and the U.S. and Zionists. Thank you.
For land acknowledgement and showing us that we're not immune to national legacies of genocide here in the U.S. And so may that serve as a reminder that this is an issue that is unfortunately very reminiscent of our own national history as well. Now, we are graciously joined today by Reverend Alvaro Duran from the Congregational Church of San Mateo. Reverend Alvaro is an Anglican theologian, pastor, LGBTQI+ human rights defender, and the first and only openly LGBTQI+ religious leader in El Salvador. Now, he will lead us in a prayer. Thank you for being here today, Reverend.
Good afternoon, everyone present here. I want to start by thanking those who are organized this event and offering an apology before we pray and have a moment of silence for those who are not Christian or of no faith, and acknowledging the role of Christianity and Christian supremacy in the systems of oppression and imperialism around the world. Before we do that, I'll ask you, to those who want to share in this moment, to center ourselves into this moment, and let's embrace a moment of silence before we pray. Por quien sufre en este mundo, apura hoy, Señor, tu salvación. Tus oídos se inclinen al clamor de tu gente oprimida. Apura hoy, Señor, tu salvación. Sea tu paz bendita y hermanada la justicia, que abrace al mundo entero. Ten compasión, que tu poder sustente el testimonio de tu pueblo, que abrace al mundo entero. Kyrie eleison. Let us pray. God of justice and compassion, we come before you today with hearts heavy and minds burdened by the memory of the great Kanto Massacre. We remember the lives lost, the families shattered, and the communities that were torn apart. We lament the violence that was inflicted upon all innocents, and we grieve the deep wounds that continue to scar generations. We confess the sin of denial that persists, a denial that seeks to erase the truth and silence the voices of the oppressed. We stand against this cowardice, and we lift up our voices in a unified cry for justice. May the Japanese government acknowledge the truth of the past and take responsibility for the atrocities committed in the name of imperialism and racism. God, we pray this day for courage, for those who speak truth to power, for those who demand accountability, and for those who work tirelessly to ensure that history is remembered, not rewritten. Grant us the strength to resist the resurgence of imperial values and the persistence of hatred in all its forms. We pray for the souls of the victims of the Kanto Massacre and for their families who continue to bear the weight of this tragedy. May their spirits find peace. May their memories be a source of strength and resolve as we continue the struggle for justice. In this time of ongoing violence and oppression all around the world and in this city and this country, we ask your guidance and your grace. Help us to stand firm against hate, to protect the vulnerable, and to create a world where all people are treated with dignity and respect. God of peace, we call on you to move the hearts of leaders and citizens alike, that they may see the value of truth, justice, and reconciliation. May Japan, the united their memory by continuing the fight for a world where peace and equality reign. Is this in Jesus the Christ?
Now, I'd like to invite Tsukuru to come in and read our statements on Japan's denial of the Great Kanto Massacre.
My name is Tsukuru Force. I represent Trans Rescue Action and also Pacific Asian Nuclear Peace Alliance. As a Japanese person and a child of Hiroshima and a queer trans individual, I stand in solidarity with Korean and Chinese victims of Korean massacre and victims' families, and demand Japanese government official apology and reparations. And I will speak our collective statement now. Nikkei Diaspora Statement on Japan's denial of the Great Kanto Earthquake, Korean and Chinese Massacre of 1923. August 31st, 2024. Vancouver, San Francisco, Los Angeles. Today we speak in one voice on the 101st anniversary of the Great Kanto Massacre, the violent mass murder of over 6,000 Koreans and an estimated 800 Chinese throughout the Kanto region of Japan, solely on the basis of their ancestries. Historians have asserted that the Kantō massacre was an act of genocide, an international crime for which the state must be held responsible. However, Japan denies its own history, despite an abundance of evidence and survivor testimonies. We unequivocally condemn Japan's denial of state responsibility in the Kantō massacre as a cowardly act that signals an alarming resurgence of imperial values and interests. The majority of Korean and Chinese victims of the Kantō massacre were pushed out of their homeland, colonized by the Imperial Japan. These migrants fueled the imperial war machine as disposable labor in weapons factories, infrastructure development, mining, and so on. During the Japanese aggressive war against China from 1931 to 45, Japan forcefully mobilized women and girls from Korea, China, and other areas in the Japanese military sexual slavery system. It was through their exploitation that the Imperial Japanese government pursued nation building and waged wars of aggression throughout the Asia Pacific. We are a diverse group of North America-based diaspora, predominantly Nikkei, Zainichi Korean, and Zainichi Chinese of diverse genders, representing more than a dozen social justice organizations throughout Turtle Island, also known as the United States and Canada, where European settlers committed genocide against the indigenous people to steal their land, resources, and traditional knowledge. Settlers went on to benefit of the enslavement of people from the African continent. And following emancipation, Asian coolies in the imperial pursuit of manifest destiny on their backs. For 10 months now, we have seen the live streaming of genocide funded by our own tax dollars of well over 40,000 Palestinians, according to Gaza's health ministry, by the settler colonial state of Israel, which has been waging a 75-year campaign to dehumanize and erase the Palestinian people with American weapons. under the cover of the U.S. in the name of military necessity and national security. Today, in the United States, there is increasing hate and violence against LGBTQ people. In 2024, more than 600 legislative bills against transgender people have been submitted, 44 of which have been signed into law. We believe it is not a coincidence that hate crimes against LGBTQ people are on the rise. When the state controls sexual, gender, and reproductive functions of the population and excludes specific groups as a burden or a threat to the whole society, then history has already shown us they can be subject to wholesale violations, if not elimination. During World War II, support among Americans and Canadians for the mass incarceration of their fellow citizens solely due to their Japanese ancestry was considered patriotic. Therefore, we know firsthand that racism is a real threat to human rights. Racist assumptions of inherent criminality, immorality, and defectivity are precisely what makes genocide possible and are directed against victims of genocide the world over, including against the Koreans and Chinese in Japan in 1923. All future generations deserve a country that has resolved its past mistakes, so future descendants of perpetrators do not have to inherit problems for which they are not personally responsible. Acknowledgement of the Kanto massacre is a necessary first step towards a genuinely post-imperial Japan. Furthermore, we demand the Japanese government meet international standards for state accountability to victims of human rights violations that include, but are not limited to, an official state apology, full investigation and disclosure of the truth, reparations to victims and victims' families, guarantees of non-repetition, and teaching this history in the textbooks for future generations. To deny state responsibility and the racism that it promoted comes at too much of a cost, shattering the real possibility of equality and peace. For example, the arsonist who in 2021 burnt Zainichi Korean residential buildings in Utoro, Kyoto, as a show of hostility toward Koreans. Back in 1923, under the government's blessings and encouragement, it was the civilians and leaders of fire stations or local neighborhood groups that took up arms and valiantly went after the criminal Koreans in Emperor's name. You, the Japanese government, are responsible to humanity and above all to your own constituents of today and tomorrow. In the name of all peace-loving people of Japan and Nikkei around the world, we call on the government of Japan to take the opportunity now to respect and uphold the value of human rights today in order to guarantee a future that is inhospitable to genocide against any group and thus can promote lasting peace and society for all. Lastly, but not least, we wish to convey our collective condolences to all families of victims. May the souls of our ancestors rest in peace, and their memory a source of our collective solace and strength. Now, I will read the names of endorsing and co-signing organizations. Article 9 Canada, Eclipse Rising, US Japan, J-Town Action and Solidarity, Los Angeles, Nikkei Decolonization Tour, NDT, San Francisco Bay Area and Japan, Nikkei Uprising, Chicago, Nikkei Vancouver for Justice, Vancouver, Trans Rescue Action, Los Angeles, Nikkei Resistance, San Francisco Bay Area, Nuduto, U.S. No Nukes Action Committee, San Francisco Bay Area. Paper Cranes for Palestine, Toronto. Peace Philosophy Center, Vancouver. San Francisco Comfort Women Justice Coalition, San Francisco Bay Area. Youth Forum, Fukuoka, Japan. Hiroshima Palestine Visual Community. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Tsukuru, for reading our statements. This statement was also read in Japanese in Japan for the commemoration there as well. Now, we're fortunate to have the presence of some of those signing organizations with us. We have Comfort Women Justice Coalition and No Nukes Action. So to begin, I'd like to invite Judge Julie Tang, a member of the Comfort Women Justice Coalition, to speak and share her perspective on the Kantō Massacre and why this issue is important.
Thank you very much. Today, we're talking about justice, we talk about fairness, and we talk about accountability. And in those ideas and concepts, we also go forward to forge peace in this world. We are peace organizations. All the organizational groups are for peace and have been working and advocating for peace for years. Myself, Judge Lillian Singh, have been working on the Comfort Women Justice Coalition and Rape of Nanjing Redress Coalition. I know that we're talking about history right now. History goes back a long time. For those issues that Lillian and I have been talking about, they go back to 1938. Today, I join with everybody here to go back a little bit further to 1923 to look at the history of Japan's crimes and atrocities committed against its neighbors, against the Koreans, against the Chinese. And why are we doing this? A lot of people say, let bygones be bygone. It's been so long. Let's focus now on jobs, economy, and all the things that are affecting us currently. Of course, we need to focus on that. But without history, we're not here. And if history is repeated, then we are nowhere. So in remembering the atrocities committed by Japan's military armed forces in 1920, throughout the years, and in particular today, the 1923, the 1,001-year commemoration of the Kanto Massacre, where 6,000 Korean natives, mostly laborers, and 700 Chinese laborers were killed senselessly after the earthquake. We need to think back a little bit further and think back a little bit deeper. So let me bring back to where we are today in history. Today, Japan continues its militarism. In January 2024, Japan just purchased 400 Tomahawk long-range missiles from China. The purpose is to start a war and fight China. We don't want that. Do you want that? Please say no. No. And we're here for peace. And Japan is now going to be the third largest military and weapon country in the world, next only to United States and China. But Japan only has less than about 120 million people compared to those two countries. Why in the world do they need all these weapons and to be the third country that has the largest weaponry and missile systems that has a range of 1,000 miles that can cover the entire Xinjiang province, which includes Shanghai, Nanjing, a country that it raped during 1937 to 1938. Today, I am proud to join up with all of you and to the people of Japan who are peacekeeping people. I am in touch with them. Many of them are labor movement people. Many of them are working class people who are being marginalized in Japan, just like we are being marginalized in this country on peace issues. We join in solidarity with them because without the people, who are these governments? They are supposed to work for us. Without people, without the grassroots people, the governments should be working for us, not against us, not inciting wars, and not repeating history. So today, let me just thank all of you for being here. Thank the Reverend, thank Christian, and all the organizations that are represented here. I hope that we'll continue to do this until there's no more war. So please repeat after me, no more wars.
No more wars!
No more massacres.
No more massacres!
No more atrocities.
No more atrocities.
Japan must apologize.
Japan must apologize.
Thank you all very much. Christian?
Thank you, Judge Thing, for those powerful words. Now I'd like to invite another member of the Comfort Women Justice Coalition, Judge Lillian Singh, who was also the first Asian American female judge in Northern California, and we're very blessed to have her here today with us to share a few words.
I'm not going to speak or repeat what Judge Tang has already spoken, because she's already covered so many issues that are deeply affecting our lives today, in the past, and in the future. But I am here to say how deeply hurt we are today by what Japan did in the past, what Japan is doing today, and what we fear Japan may do in the future. We must not allow Japan to forget its crimes against humanities. Of course, most of the victims of the Kantō massacre are no longer here, but their descendants are here. Their spirits are with us. Nanjing massacre, only very few of them are still alive. Comfort women in China, Korea, 13 other Asian countries, most of them are gone, but their ghosts are with us. They're crying for justice. They want us, living souls, to remember them and to never forget what happened in the past. There's a Chinese saying, 没有道歉,没有和平. If you don't apologize, there will never be peace. We need peace in the world. Like Judge Tang said, we're a peaceful organization. The Kantō massacre, the Nanjing massacre, they're all against humankind and it's against humanities. The crimes against humanities, and we will never allow it to happen if we remember what happened, if we do something about it, and if we use all our forces to prevent it from happening again. So thank you very much for being here. It's a beautiful day, and I hope the reason why we chose this site is because it represents Japanese culture. The people of Japan are great. The culture is beautiful, but the government has done terrible things against humanities. Unfortunately, most people don't know about it. Thank you.
Thank you, Judge Singh. Now, I'd like to invite Michael Wong to share a few words. Michael Wong is the Vice President of Veterans for Peace, Chapter 69, San Francisco.
Thank you. I'd like to talk about the connections between the Japanese government and the American government. What do they have in common? Both of them have a history of imperialism, of going out and attacking other countries, of committing massacres, of committing war crimes, of committing torture. And at this point, they are in lockstep together. The majority of the people, both in Japan and in the United States, want peace. Polls show that people are against these forever wars. And yet, the United States is using Japan in the same way that Japan linked up with Germany during World War II in a campaign to dominate the entire planet. That campaign ranges from Ukraine, where the United States provoked a proxy war to try to, as Biden said, bleed Russia, to the Middle East, where we are allowing Israel to commit a genocide in Gaza. We're allowing it because we are continuing to give them arms. If we said stop now or no arms, they would be forced to stop. So we are complicit, and we in fact are facilitating it. The same thing as the two judges mentioned, we are working with Japan in the same way that we worked with Ukraine to try to provoke a war with China. Tomahawks that can hit China from Japan are offensive weapons. They are not defensive weapons. This is part of a larger picture. The Kantō Massacre was a manifestation of Japanese imperialism at the time. That's why it's still relevant to today. And that's why it's still relevant to massacres that are occurring now and massacres that may occur in the future. So we should all be connected. The Japanese people and the American people do not want more wars, but their governments do. And that's the important point. They do not represent the people we are here working with. Not only Japanese Americans, but we also have connections to the Japanese peace movement. Veterans for Peace just had a delegation go to Japan, toured a bunch of cities. There is a chapter of Veterans for Peace in Japan, and there's an organization of Japanese Defense Force veterans who are also for peace that we work with closely as well. So it is the governments funded by big money and the war machine that we should oppose. Thank you.
Thank you, Michael, for those words. Now, next up, I'd like to invite Momi back up. Momi attended the Nikkei Decolonization Tour 2023 trip, and she's going to share what it was like to visit the massacre sites last year with NDT and explain from that perspective why this is important and why people should never forget the Kantō Massacre.
Hi, I'm Momi. I grew up in this area. I was born and raised about 5 blocks away, and I used to sell newspapers on this corner back in the 70s when there was anti-war, anti-Vietnam War actions and protesting redevelopment agency, clearing out the neighborhoods of the black community and the Japanese community here. So I want to just mention a little story. I don't want to be too long, but I had a co-worker before I retired that was Korean, from Korea, and one day she called, said to me, "You Japanese are all sheep." And I was kind of taken aback and insulted and hurt. As time went by, last year, I was told about this tour to Japan, a decolonization tour, and the commemoration of the Kantō Massacre. And I had known nothing about the Kantō Massacre. Being an activist during the 60s and 70s, you would think that I knew about Sanrizuka in Japan and a lot of struggles around the world, but the Kantō Massacre was just, I was blank on that. So I want to just mention that as a thing that in this country there is not a whole lot of education surrounding the poor people around the world that were forced to come to this country, because we're a settler nation. We're a nation of settlers from all around the world, either by choice to populate and to continue settling, or to force people to migrate here to be the labor, united fruit, to do the farming. Throughout history, that has been the point of imperialism and colonialization. My husband, who is also involved he's in my life, he's Japanese Filipino. And when he was a child, during the 50s and 60s, he was beaten up by his Filipino relatives. And at the same time, he was rejected by the Japanese community here. So I want to say that those things still go on today. And when we deny the issues of colonization of the people of when Japan invaded Korea in 1910, the history of the pain and trauma, the forced migration, the violence of invading people's homes in Korea and taking over. I think that denial is where we are today, when we have so many issues that people don't realize. This goes back centuries, and for this country, thousands of years ago. On that trip, I learned so much because in 2023, I had no idea what was going on. And I'm 70 years old right now, and I'm still learning about the devastation caused by imperialism all over the world. So I just wanted to mention that it was a very eye-opening experience going to the coal mines for tours, learning about the Korean migrants that were forced to work in the coal mines. There's some photo picture cards here and a little album of the trip, if anybody wants to see it. Also the comfort women. And I want to say that the last speaker talked about, I think, making sure that the governments and the people are not the same. The people of all the countries, I know the majority do not want this. They do not want to be displaced. They do not want to be evicted from their land to be coming here. And if their land was meant to be protected and thrived on in a way that doesn't kill it and kill the people and the animals and the sky and the sea, then they wouldn't be here. But their land is devastated. And they come here and they try to find supports. And even the people locally that born and raised here, the descendants of other settlers, they're being tossed out onto the street as a way to deny that the issue is not about the homeless, the displaced communities. It's about the government that seeks to capitalize on every aspect of people's lives and become a commodity like the land. We are not to be sold. Our land is not for sale. And today, I just want to mention one more thing, that while Japan continues to be silent of the Israeli Zionist violence and the genocide of the Palestinian people, it is strengthening ties with the U.S. and Israel, deaf to the worldwide cries for ceasefire in Palestine. We walk in solidarity. We are in this together. We are persistent and peaceful and dedicated to standing with all oppressed people affected by the American KKK, European, Japanese, and Zionist colonialization, imperialism. We are all connected. My name is Momi, and I'm from Poor Magazine Homefulness. Thank you.
Years. And we heard women and men read exactly what happened. And it was the incredibly moving experience that we saw, that this memory, that these descendants, that they are still feeling incredible pain. And then we went to another place, and it was youth, college students, who also put on a performance, actually, but because they felt so much. It was both Japanese and Zainichi Koreans and Chinese who did it together. And so they were building unity about this massacre. I think that what we learned there just strengthened our resolve about how important it is to fight against historical denialism and how important it is to take accountability for the massacres that have happened throughout history, and how incredible it is that the Japanese government still denies that this happened. You know, here in the United States, we understand historical denialism very well, because basically we've been taught lies in our history classes since kindergarten. So we have to begin to unpack the truth. We have to begin to forge alliances. And as everyone has talked about, we have to come together to build against war. It's unbelievable that 2 weeks ago, the United States gave $20 billion more dollars to Israel. So $20 billion of our money to kill people. Our money just goes to kill people. And look at our streets. Look at our schools. Look around you. It's all completely falling apart while the U.S. insists on killing people throughout the world. The only way that we can stop them is to build a powerful movement. This is small here, but it's just one little drop in what will become a really powerful movement that won't just be in the United States, but has to be around the world. So I think we have to remember, Kantō Massacre, never forget. Japan must apologize. No more weapons to Israel, and no more weapons being exported anywhere in the world by the United States. Thank you.
Thank you, Merck, for that powerful call to action. Now, I'd like to invite one more speaker. Our Steve Ziegler, our cameraman. He's also from No Nukes Action, and he will also share a few words with us.
My name is Steve Zeltzer. I'm with the No Nukes Action Committee, which has been organizing against the conditions, against the attack on people in Japan by the nuclear industry. And most people don't know, in 2011, there was a Fukushima meltdown, and they still haven't been able to remove the melted nuclear rods. So it's over 12 years. The government denies it. In fact, when I was there, I did a documentary. There were politicians who said we can overcome radiation at that time. They deny the danger of nuclear, these nuclear plants, and they contaminated people all over Japan, all over the world. And now the Japanese government and TEPCO are actually dumping millions of radioactive water with tritium into the ocean, in the Pacific Ocean, affecting not just Japan, but the entire Pacific Rim, Korea, China, and the United States. And why do they do this? Why is the Japanese government, with the support of the United States government, whether it was Obama or Trump or Biden, why are they continuing to build nuclear plants in the Ring of Fire? Japan is dangerous. They have earthquakes, 7, 8, 9 points. So another earthquake could lead to another Fukushima. Haven't we learned from Fukushima that we should not be having nuclear plants, particularly in Japan? Well, the reality is they want the nuclear plants not only for the electricity, but they use them for nuclear weapons, for uranium and plutonium. And the United States government wants more weapons. In fact, they're even keeping Diablo Canyon open right here in California. Governor Newsom, with the almost unanimous support of the Democrats, said we have to pay PG&E over $1 billion to keep Diablo Canyon open. Look, in California, you have so much solar power. We don't need nuclear power. We can have solar power, but we're talking about capitalism, making profit from the nuclear industry. We're talking about imperialism. And when we talk about the Kanto massacre, why did it happen? It happened because of nationalism, because of racism, because the Japanese government wanted to build nationalism so they could become an imperial power. You need nationalism to build an imperialist regime. And this is exactly what the Kanto earthquake was about. Blaming Koreans, blaming Chinese, instead of saying that we should prepare for the next earthquake and spend our time and effort preparing for a earthquake. Now today, not only do we have the danger of a war in China, we have a danger of a world war. And the United States and the politicians right here in San Francisco, Nancy Pelosi, and Gavin and the Congressperson, Padilla, the senator, are saying we need to spend more money for the war. If people looked at the Democratic Convention and the speech of Harris, Kamala Harris, what did they see? They saw a bellicose speech that we should have more war. We need to go after Russia. We have to arm the United States, to arm Japan. Now, Japan has an anti-war constitution, Article 9, which says that you cannot have offensive weapons. Yet, as we see here, they're giving Tomahawk missiles to attack China. That's a direct violation of the Japanese Constitution. Why are they doing that? Because they don't care about the laws. They don't care about protecting the people. They're driven by the war profiteers. And the fact of the matter is, the bombing and the genocide in Gaza and the pogrom in the West Bank is making people profits. The war profiteers make money every time they drop a bomb. This is a very profitable business. This is what they really care about, making more money, making more war. And we have to say that these politicians also are contributing to anti-Japanese, anti-Asian racism. Because when they blame Chinese, who gets picked? Who gets attacked? Asian Americans. And we have a history in this country where Japanese American, Japanese Peruvians were brought here during the Second World War, were incarcerated in concentration camps. They did apologize, and we have to say that that may happen again against Muslims, against other people, unless we build a movement, as has been said. And Nancy Pelosi and the politicians, the corporate politicians, are driven for war. We have to stop it, and we have to particularly organize in the labor movement and the unions and working people, because working people can stop the war. A general strike in this country would stop the Gaza genocide. Working people have the power, but it requires an organization, a movement, and we actually need a political alternative to the Democrats and Republicans, because all they're offering us is more war, more militarism, and blaming the Russians, blaming the Chinese, blaming people in other countries. Our enemy really is not over there, it's right here in this country. It's the war profiteers who run the United States. Those are our enemy, because they are taking us into another war. We have to stop it, and we need unity with the Japanese people, with the Chinese people, with the Korean people. That is where we have to go. Build unity of working people around the world against militarism and against war. Thank you, brothers and sisters.
Thank you, Steve. A powerful reflection on disaster and its relationship to capitalism, fascism, and imperialism. Even today, when earthquakes happen in Japan, there's still a resurgence of rumors of Koreans and Chinese residents of Japan taking advantage. And so, unfortunately, the Kantō massacre lives on, and that's why this is a constant struggle that we must be engaged in. Now, to close, I'd like to invite Daesun Oka, a member of the Nikkei Decolonization Tour as well as Eclipse Rising. He attended the NDT 2023 tour alongside Momi and Merck and myself. And one of the events we went to was a reading of testimonies by witnesses to the Kantō massacre. And this was organized by Hosenka House. And the spot was chosen because it was by Arakawa River, where many of the killings took place. And we won't read the testimonies because of the detailed nature of them here, but we would like to share a poem that Hosenka House wrote for that commemorative event by the water.
Thank you, Christian. In closing, testimony is the words of those who survived. Not all those who survived spoke, and even if they did, they probably wouldn't have been able to tell you everything. But those who were killed cannot speak, and we don't know your name, you that was killed. Who are you? What kind of life do you lead? What do you like to do? Who are you with? We don't know anything about you. Who are you? I want to imagine you from this place, 100 years ago. In the realm of everyday life, the fact that the person next to me could be killed or could murder someone. It could be that you were next to me. It could be that you were not next to me. We are here now. You are definitely here too. To you, whose names I don't know, who are you? I want to see you here again next year. Thank you.
Thank you, Daesun. I want to thank everyone again for coming today. We have been in constant communication with the commemorative event organizers in Tokyo, and they are inspired and grateful for this solidarity today. In fact, Mr. Boyao Lin of the National Committee for the Centennial Commemoration of Korean and Chinese Massacre victims in the Great Kanto earthquake of 1923 shared that hearing and seeing us will encourage them in their efforts going forward. Before you go, please visit our table if you have not yet. We have photos, I don't know if we still have leaflets, and resources for you to learn more about us and this struggle. On our leaflets, which we may not have anymore, you could scan our QR code to visit our website, www.decolonizenikkei.org. On our website, we have made available a full translated collection of testimonies by witnesses to the Kantō Massacre, given to us by Japan-based nonprofit Hosenka House, who organized the Arakawa Riverside reading of the testimonies, so that you can directly read their accounts of the events that took place. We also want to thank No Nukes Action, No Tudol, Trans Rescue Action, Nikkei Resistors, and Comfort Women Justice Coalition for supporting this event today. The violence that took place in Kanto, September 1st to the 3rd, is endemic and sadly rings familiar to people all around the world. But through joining this struggle, we learn lessons and fight for our own liberation as well. Lastly, we want to send our heartfelt appreciation to all of the incredible supporters of NDT. Their generous gift and solidarity made it possible for us to learn about various justice struggles in Japan so that we could hold events like this in the U.S. Thank you, and have a great rest of your day.